Hello everybody, this is Refresh, and I'm here to bring you a battle between the two Kaldheim commander decks and the Face the Hydra challenge deck from Theros. We're going to be playing with commander rules, so that we'll have 40 life per character, and we're going to be playing two games, first on normal difficulty and then on hard mode. For these games, we're going to be using two hero cards. The first one is Harvester. It says tap, draw a card, then discard a card. And we'll also be using the Warrior, which says tap, target creature you control gains haste until end of the turn. We only have one of each of these hero cards, so we're going to be applying their effects to both decks simultaneously. We'll go ahead and get started by drawing our opening hands. Phantom Premonition draws a Myriad Landscape, Plains, Replicating Ring, Cloud Goat Ranger, Swiftfoot Boots, Marshal's Anthem, and Sage from Beyond. We don't really have much that we can cast, but I think because we have the Replicating Ring, we might be able to ramp into what we need. And so we're going to keep this particular hand, risky as it is. Elven Empire draws a Canopy Tactician, a Swamp, Shaman of the Pack, Casualties of War, Twin Blade Assassins, Imperious Perfect, and a Forest. We're a little short on lands, and there's no real ramp here, and it's full of very expensive cards. We do get one free mulligan, so we're going to take advantage of that and go ahead and use it. Now they have a Moldervine Reclamation, Swamp, Forest, Spring Bloom Druid, Eyeblight Colors, a Forest, and a Forest. I think that this is a somewhat weaker hand in terms of the overall cards, but I do like that we are able to cast our things and then ramp if we need to. So we're going to hold this and get into the game. Because this is multiplayer, we'll be drawing on our opening hands. Phantom draws a Mistraven, and Elves draw a Serpent Soul Jar. We'll go ahead and start by playing the Plains over here. And we'll play a Forest over here. And then we'll pass the turn to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast the topmost card. This is Unified Lunge, deals X damage to each player, where X is the number of heads on the battlefield. So we'll be taking 3 and 3 to go down 6 life apiece, going to 34 each. At the end of the turn, we'll be using the Harvester. Phantoms draw a Restoration Angel, and we will discard the Sage from Beyond here. Elves draw a Swamp, and we will discard the extra Forest here. We'll untap. Phantom draws a Plains, and Elves draw a Forest. We'll play the Swamp over here, and Phantoms will play the Plains. We'll tap both of the Plains and cast a Swiftfoot Boots. This is an equipment, and equipped creature has hexproof and haste, and you can equip it for 1. We don't have anything else to do this turn, and so we will pass to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is a Strike the Weak Spot. Destroy target head. If that head was elite, the Hydra takes an extra turn after this one. There are no elites to strike, so we'll go ahead and nail one of these Hydra heads. It is a 0/3 head, and when it leaves the battlefield, each player gains 2 life. It'll leave the battlefield, and so we'll gain 2 to go back up to 36 each, but then we're going to lose 2 from the remaining heads to go back down to 34. So we're just going to leave our life totals where they are. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Phantoms draw a Curse of the Swine, and we'll go ahead and put that right in the graveyard. And Elves draw a Command Tower. We'll hold that, and we will discard another Forest. 1 tap. Phantom draws a Ghostly Flicker, and Elves draw a Golgari Finebreaker. We'll play the Myriad Landscape over here. This is a land. It enters the battlefield tapped. You can tap for colorless. You can pay 2, tap, and sacrifice it to search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, a share land type, put them onto the battlefield tapped, and shuffle your library. Unfortunately, we don't have any mana to cast anything else, and so Phantom is going to hold here. Elves are going to play their Command Tower. It's a land. You can tap it to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. And then we will tap 3 mana and cast the Spring Bloom Druid. This is a 1/1 Elf Druid, and when it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice a land. If you do, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. Go ahead and sacrifice this Swamp. We'll go grabbing 2 basic land cards. Then we'll shuffle. Because the Spring Bloom Druid can't do anything about these Hydras on their own, we're just going to pass the turn. The Hydra casts the topmost card, which is a Nectangle. If there are 5 or more heads on the battlefield, tap 2 of them. They don't untap during the Hydra's next untap step. Otherwise, reveal the top card of the Hydra's library, and the Hydra casts that card. We now reveal Hydra's Impenetrable Hide. Each head gains indestructible until the end of the Hydra's next turn. So they are now indestructible. So I don't forget this. I'm going to put this out here. And then we are going to lose 2 life to the Hydra to go down to 32 each. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Phantom draws an island, and we will discard the Cloud Goat Ranger. Elves draw a swamp, and we'll discard the swamp. 1 tap. Phantom draws a Storm Herd, and Elves draw a forest. We will play the swamp over here, and we'll play the island over here. Phantom will spend 4 mana, and we'll cast our commander. This is Ranar the Ever-Watchful. This is a 2/3 legendary spirit warrior with flying and vigilance. The first card you foretell each turn costs 0 to foretell, and whenever you exile 1 or more cards from your hand and or permanents from the battlefield, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. Elves will tap out and play the Eye Blight colors. This is a 3/3 elf warrior, and when it dies, create 3 1/1 elf green warrior creature tokens and then mill 3 cards. There's no point in attacking, and so we will pass the turn to the Hydra. If this effect wears off, the Hydra will cast the top card, which is a Hydra head. We'll be taking 3 damage from the assembled heads to go down to 29 each. We'll use the Harvester at the end of the turn. Phantoms will draw a Seagate Oracle. We will discard the Storm Herd. The Elves will draw an Imperious Perfect, and we will discard a Forest. We'll untap. Phantom draws an island, and Elves draw a Llanowar Tribe. Phantom will play the island. Elf will play the forest. Phantom will tap 3, play the Replicating Ring. This is a snow artifact. You can tap to add 1 mana of any color at the beginning of your upkeep. Put a night counter on Replicating Ring. Then if it has 8 or more night counters on it, remove all of them and create 8 colorless snow artifact tokens named Replicating Ring with tap, add 1 mana of any color. Then we will tap these 3 and cast the Seagate Oracle. This is a 1/3 human wizard. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 2 cards of your library. Put 1 of them into your hand and the other on the bottom of your library. We'll go ahead and look at the top 2 cards. We have a Migratory Route and a Synthetic Dynasty. We will hold on to Migratory Route, and we'll put Synthetic Dynasty on the bottom of the deck. Meanwhile, Elves will tap 3 green to play the Llanowar Tribe. This is a 3/3 elf druid with tap for 3 green. And then we'll play with the rest of the mana the Imperious Perfect. This is a 2/2 elf warrior. Other elf creatures you control gain +1/+1. You can pay 1 green, tap it to create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. We will immediately tap the warrior to give the Llanowar Tribe haste and the Seagate Oracle haste. We'll go attacking. The 2 Phantom cards will go into 1 Hydra head, and the Llanowar Tribe will go into another Hydra head, and the Eye Blight colors will go into the last Hydra head. This will defeat the entirety of the Hydra heads. We'll gain 6 life each to go to 35. Then we'll reveal 6 cards to see if there are any new heads. There's a Hydra head, a Shrieking Titan head. This is a 0/8 elite head. At the beginning of the Hydra's end step, each player discards a card, and when it leaves the battlefield, each player gains 4 life and draws a card. Then another Hydra head. We don't have anything else we can do, so we will pass the turn to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast the topmost card. This is a Distract the Hydra. Each player may sacrifice a creature. Each player who sacrificed a creature this way chooses the head and taps it. Each player who didn't sacrifice a creature loses 3 life. We have the life to spare for now, so we will go ahead and lose 3 life each to go back down to 32. We'll go to the Hydra's end step, and so we will each discard a card. Phantom will discard the Migratory Route. Elves will discard the Serpent Souljar. And then we'll take 4 damage each to go down to 28. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Phantom draws a Sod Coming and we'll discard that. Elves draw a Force and we'll discard that. We'll untap. On upkeep, we're going to put a counter onto the Replicating Ring. Phantom draws an Angel of Serenity. Elves draw a Poison the Cup. Phantom will spend 4 mana and cast Mist Raven. This is a 2/2 bird with flying. When it enters the battlefield, return target creature to its owner's hand. We will target the Shrieking Titan head. It bounces, and we will gain 4 life apiece each to go back up to 32, and we'll draw a card. Phantom draws a Return to Dust, and Elves draw a Return Upon the Tide. We'll reveal 2 cards to see if there are any new heads. We have a Savage Vigor head. This is a 0/8 elite head. At the beginning of the Hydra's end step, reveal the top card of the Hydra's library, and the Hydra casts that card. And when it leaves the battlefield, each player gains 4 life and draws a card. Elves will spend 4 mana and cast Lathril, Blade of the Elves. This is a 2/3 legendary elf noble with menace, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, create that many 1/1 elf green creature tokens. And tap 10 untapped elves you control to make each opponent lose 10 life, and you gain 10 life. Go ahead and use the warrior to give the Mist Raven and Lathril haste. Go to combat. We'll swing at the Savage Figurehead with the Lanowar tribe and the Eye Blight color. We'll attack one of the Hydra heads with Lathril, and we'll attack the other Hydra head with the Seagate Oracle and the Mist Raven. This will defeat the lot. This will gain us 8 life apiece, taking us back up to 40. Phantom Premonition draws a Commander Sphere, and Elves draw a Tergrid Shadow. We'll reveal 6 cards to see if there are any new heads. We get a Snapping Fang head. This is 0/8 elite head. At the beginning of the Hydra's end step, Snapping Fang head deals 1 damage to each player. When it leaves the battlefield, each player gains 4 life and draws a card. We also have a Ravenous Brute head. This is an 0/6 elite head. When it leaves the battlefield, each player gains 2 life and draws a card. And then we have a regular Hydra head. Because we dealt 3 combat damage with Lathril, we'll be getting 3 1/1 elf creature tokens. And then we are out of mana, and so we will pass to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is a Noxious Hydra Breath. Choose one, either it deals 5 damage to each player or destroy each tapped non-head creature. I don't think we want to lose the creatures because I think that they will help us get the wind here, so we will go ahead and take 5 each. That is on top of the 6 that we're taking from the assembled heads to take 11 each. That will take us down to 29 apiece. Then we'll use the Harvester. Phantom draws a Hero of Bredegard, and we will discard the Commander's Sphere. Elves draw a Myara, Thorn of the Glade, and we will discard the Tergrid's Shadow. We'll untap. Put a counter on the Replicating Ring. Phantom draws an island. Elves draw a Twin Blade Assassins. We'll play the island over here. We will spend 3 mana to cast Hero of Bredegard. This is a 1/1 human warrior, and whenever you exile 1 or more cards from your hand and or permanents from the battlefield, put that many +1/+1 counters on Hero of Bredegard. As long as it has 5 or more counters, it has flying and is an angel in addition to other types, and as long as it has 10 or more counters, it has indestructible and is a god in addition to its other types. We're then going to spend 4 more mana to cast the Restoration Angel. This is a 3/4 angel with flash and flying. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile target non-creature you control and then return it to the battlefield under your control. We're going to exile the Mist Raven. It exiles and then returns to the battlefield. That will trigger the Hero of Bredegard, putting a counter on it. It'll also trigger Ranar, get a spirit, and we will use that ability to bounce the Snapping Fang head. We'll gain 4 life each to go back to 33. Phantom draws an island. Elves draw a Pride of the Perfect. Then we'll spend 5 mana, play a Twin Blade Assassins. This is a 5/4 elf assassin. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, draw a card. We'll use the warrior to give the Mistraven and the Nightblade Assassins haste, and we'll go to combat. We will attack the Ravenous Brute Head with Lathril and 2 of her elf warriors. We'll attack the Hydra Head with Ranar and his spirit. This will defeat both of these. And we'll gain 2 life apiece to go up to 35. Phantom draws a Muldrifter, and Elves draw a Wirewood Channeler. Then we will reveal 6 cards to see if there are any additional Hydra Heads. There are no more Hydra Heads, and so the Commander decks defeat the Hydra on normal difficulty. We'll be right back for hard mode. And we are back for hard mode with 4 Hydra Heads. We'll draw our opening hands. Phantom draws an Azorius Signet, Plains, Island, Plains, saw it coming, Behold the Multiverse, and Islands. It's a really slow hand, but I think we can keep it on the promise of drawing into better cards. Elves draw a Skemfar Shadow Mage and Masked Admirer's Bounty of Skemfar Forest, Swamp, Forest, and Forest. This is also a bit of a slow hand, but I think we keep it all the same. Go ahead and get started with Phantoms playing their Island and Elves playing their Swamp. We'll pass to the Hydra. The Hydra casts a topmost card, which is a Distract the Hydra. We don't sacrifice, and so we'll take 7 each to go to 33 apiece. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Phantom draws a Return to Dust, and we'll discard the Return to Dust. Elves draw an Arcane Signet, and we will discard 1 of the forests. 1 tap. Phantom draws a Sky Diamond, and Elves draw a Putrefy. Elves will play a Forest, and Phantom will play a Plains. Phantom taps 2 and plays the Azorius Signet. This is a artifact. You can pay 1 and tap it for white and blue. Elves tap 2 and will cast the Arcane Signet. This is an artifact. You can tap it to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. And then we'll pass the turn to the Hydra. Hydra casts Torn Between Heads. Tap up to 2 heads. They don't untap during the Hydra's next untap step, and then Torn Between Heads deals 5 damage to each player. We'll tap these 2. We'll take 5 plus an additional 2 damage for a total of 7 damage to go down to 26. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Phantom draws an Island, and we will discard the Island. Elves draw a Swamp, and we will discard the Putrefy. We'll untap. Phantom draws a Commander Sphere, and Elves draw a Command Tower. Phantom will play the Island, and Elves will play a Forest. We'll tap out to cast Lathril, and we'll tap out to cast Ranar. We'll tap the Warrior to give each of them haste, and we'll go attack 1 of the untapped Hydra Heads. That'll defeat this Hydra Head. We'll gain 2 life apiece to go back up to 28 each. We'll reveal 2 cards to see if there are any new heads. And then we'll pass to the Hydra. The Hydra will untap. And then we'll cast the topmost card, which is a Ravenous Brute Head. We'll take 3 damage from the assembled heads to go back down to 25. And then in turn, we'll use the Harvester. Phantom draws a Geist Honored Monk, and we will discard the Commander Sphere. Elves draw a Elvish Archdruid, and we will discard the Swamp. We'll untap. We forgot to trigger Lathril, so we should have 2 Elves. Phantom draws an Island, and Elves draw a Spring Bloom Druid. We'll play the Command Tower and a Plains. Phantom will tap out. We'll cast the Geist Honored Monk. This is a Star human monk with Vigilance, and its power and toughness are each equal to the number of creatures you control, and when it enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying. It is now a 4/4. Elves will tap 3 and cast the Elvish Archdruid. This is a 2/2 Elf Druid. Other elves you control gain +1/+1. You can tap it for green for each elf you control. We'll use the Warrior to give the Geist Honored Monk and the Elvish Archdruid haste. Then we'll tap the Elvish Archdruid for 4 green mana, and we'll cast the Masked Admirers. And this is a 3/2 Elf Shaman, And when it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you may pay 2 green, and if you do, return it from your graveyard to your hand. And then we'll go to combat, and we will attack the Ravenous Brute-Head with the Geist Honored Monk and the Lathril. And then we'll attack the Hydra Head with Ranar and 1 Elf Warrior. This will defeat both of these. We'll gain 4 life to go back up to 29. Phantom draws an island. Elves draw an Enraged Forerunners. We'll reveal 4 cards to see if there are any new heads. We'll pass the turn to the Hydra. They untap. They cast a Disorienting Glower. Players can't cast spells until the Hydra's next turn. We'll take 2 damage each to go back down to 27. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Phantom draws a Migratory Route, and we will discard the island. Elves draw a Moldavine Reclamation, and we will discard the Skemfar Shadow Mage. We'll untap. Lathril's ability again should have triggered next last turn, so we should have 2 more Elves. Phantom will play an island, and then we can't cast any more spells, but we can just go to combat. So we will attack one of the Hydra Heads with Lathril and an Elf Warrior, and the other Hydra Head will be attacked by the Geist Honored Monk. This will defeat them both. Gain 4 life each to go up to 31. We'll reveal 4 cards to see if there are any new heads. We have the Shrieking Titan Head. Can't cast any spells, and so we'll pass to the Hydra. The Hydra casts a Ravenous Brute Head, and then we will each have to discard a card. Phantom discards the Sky Diamond. Elves discard the Moldavine Reclamation. And then we'll take 4 damage apiece to go back down to 27. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Phantom draws a Core Cartographer, and we will discard the Migratory Route. Elves draw a Eyeblight Colors, and we will discard Spring Bloom Druid. We'll untap. Phantom draws a Plains. Elves draw a Swamp. Elves will play their Swamp. Phantom will play their Plains. Phantom will tap 4 mana and cast a Core Cartographer. This is a 2/2 Core Scout, and when it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for Plains, put it on the battlefield, tap, and then shuffle your library. We'll go to combat. We'll attack the Shrieking Titan Head with Lathril and 3 Elf Warriors. And we'll attack the Ravenous Brute Head with the Geist Honored Monk and 1 Spirit. This will defeat them both. We'll gain 6 life to go back up to 33 each. Phantom draws a Cleansing Nova, and Elves draw a Forest. We're going to reveal 4 cards to see if there are any new heads. 2 Hydra Heads. Lathril should create 2 more Elves. We'll tap the Elvish Archdruid for 9 green mana. We'll tap a Swamp and play the Eyeblight Colors. We'll play the Bounty of Skemfar. This is a sorcery. Reveal the top 6 cards of your library. You may put a land from among them onto the battlefield tapped, and an elf card from among them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. There are 6 cards. We have a Despair Sentinel, Golgari Finebroker, Pride of the Perfect, Eyeblight Massacre Swamp, and Forest. We will play the Forest tapped, and we have the Golgari Finebroker going back into our hands. We have 2 floating mana. We will tap 2 more black mana, and we'll play the Golgari Finebroker. This is a 3/4 Elf Shaman. When it enters the battlefield, return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. We'll grab the Spring Bloom Druid, and then we will pass the turn to the Hydra. The Hydra casts a topmost card, which is Distract the Hydra. We will sacrifice an Elf and a Spirit. We'll take 2 to go down to 31 each. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Phantom draws a Momentary Blink. Discard the Cleansing Nova. Elves draw a Myriad Landscape, and we will discard the Myriad Landscape. We'll untap. Phantom draws a Plains, and Elves draw a Forest. Elves will play their Forest. Phantom will draw their Plains. We'll go to combat. We'll throw Lathril at one of these Hydra Heads, and we'll throw 2 Elves at another Hydra Head. That'll defeat them. Gain 4 life to go up to 35 each. We'll reveal 4 cards to see if there are any new heads. And the Kaldheim Commander decks defeat the Hydra in straight sets. This wasn't too bad, even if it's a little bit slow. Let me know what your thoughts were in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you'd like to see more of my videos, you can subscribe. This was Refresh. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.